Welcome to this edition of CNTV. I'm Brad Clonch along with Quin Tran. We begin with new details on COVID-19 vaccines.
The Chickasaw Nation Department of Health is now offering COVID-19 vaccines to children ages 5 to 11. Health officials say the vaccine is a lower dose than that used for older individuals. The vaccine requires 2 doses, 3 weeks apart. The drive-through vaccinations are at the Emergency Operations Facility in Ada and the clinics in Ardmore, Tishomingo, and Purcell. Pre-registration is strongly encouraged. Contact the Chickasaw Nation COVID-19 call center with any questions about the vaccine.
The Chickasaw Nation and its citizens honor elders in many ways.
Chickasaw elders offer so much wisdom for the next generation. More elders are featured in this latest book series, Listening to Our Elders. Volume 3 features the portrait paintings of elders by Chickasaw artist Mike Larson. And along with the paintings, short biographies in the book tell their life stories.
We are lovers of history.
Chickasaw elders create the history in this beautiful book.
Lillian Underwood, lovely woman. And I just asked her, if sitting out here we were all your children or your grandchildren, what would you say to us? And she thought for a minute and fanned herself. I would say to you, listen to your elders. And that became the title.
While Chickasaw artist Mike Larson painted the elders' portraits, his wife Martha recorded their life stories.
When I see the book, it is very emotional. These people shared so much of themselves with us. You have to honor what they've given you, and they've given you a great gift.
And we go in there and we are in their space, and we are invited into their home. And nearly every one of these people, especially the women, made us family.
Each of the elders experienced hardship and joy, their lives rooted in their faith and family.
It's not as rich for me as seeing all the paintings together. We went down to the Culture Center, there they all are. Seen them 1,000 times, but never get tired of seeing them again. It's just incredible.
It's meant a lot to me hearing their stories because these people are survivors. And it's glorious to hear their stories. I want somebody to discover this book someday again, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 100 years from now, and see these people the way we knew them, and read their story and see how incredible this generation of Chickasaws has been.
Was and is.
Was
still.
and is.
Yeah.
Was and is.
Chickasaw elders are truly living treasures. They are amazing people, and this is a must-have book series.
They are beautiful books. You may find all 3 volumes of Listening to Our Elders at the Chickasaw Press. Community health representatives play a vital role in helping Chickasaw citizens. Also known as CHRs, community health representatives travel to elders' homes for wellness visits that include checking medication, blood pressure, blood sugar, and oxygen levels. The CHRs will also deliver commodities if needed.
They may be the only contact that these citizens that we have, homebound elders, will get to see. And some of them just need to talk to somebody sometimes. And they're good listeners. CHRs are good listeners. And they provide that friendship and that, here I am, what can I do for you, that type of thing. So considering everything that they do, I would say just being able to call on them and they be reassured, the client be reassured that they have someone in the Chickasaw Nation that's calling on them and wants to visit with them, wants to see what their problems are, and wants to get it back to where the Chickasaw Nation can help them.
The work of community health representatives continued during the pandemic with nearly 2,700 citizens served last year. The Chickasaw Nation Winter Fruit and Vegetable Program is a great blessing during this time of year. Healthy, fresh, dried, and frozen fruits and vegetables are offered each month from November through March. Those who may participate in the program are Chickasaw seniors 55 and older, Chickasaw Warrior Society members, and Chickasaw citizens who are 100% disabled. The fruits and vegetables may be picked up from any of the nutrition centers in Ada, Ardmore, Duncan, and Purcell, or once a month at drive-through distribution centers in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Colbert.
We continue our conversation with Chickasaw youth Laney Daniels. The 8th grader from Bartlesville, Oklahoma, talks about her winning short story in the Anoli Creative Writing Contest. It's her first time to enter.
I wasn't expecting to win. We just thought it'd be a fun thing to go and enter. But I'll definitely enter more now, I guess.
The title of your short story is No One Else Could See Them. What's your story about, Laney?
It's about a boy who could sort of see emotions instead of just like feelings. They manifested in like little creatures and things. People could have like one or two of them around them at a time. Usually one feeling could morph into another, and he sort of learned what each creature correlates to, like each emotion. Sometimes it looks different for different people, but usually you can spot them because they have the same general look or from his own emotions that he sees.
Well, I can tell you have a big imagination and a very descriptive imagination. Let me share a little bit of your writing. Harper was accompanied by a spindly, spiky deer-like creature with a winding tail. It was inky black with little flecks of dark blues and green. His younger brother, Emmett, had a hummingbird-like creature zipping about. It was bright yellow with electric sparks flying off of it. They could feel these creatures but not see them. No one did but Jack. Jack is the main character. What led you to connect these emotions to animals and come up with this?
I was zoned out one day at volleyball practice and I was just thinking, what if I could draw like emotions as creatures and things? And that's all I wanted to do after that, because I was like, oh, what would they look like? What could I make them look like? Would certain things share traits, and then I started thinking of how I could design them and make them look, and I thought it would be really fun. And yeah, I guess that's when I first got the idea. I hadn't really thought of it as a story. It was more of just a fun idea, I guess.
Your mom shared with me that you've been writing and journaling since you were really little. What does writing do for you? Why write?
Well, I really like reading a lot, and I think it would be fun to make a story of my own that other people would really like, just like I like to read other people's like books and things. Because I'm really into mythology, and I'm like, oh, I have a culture that has stories, and so one day I really wanted to find more of those, and so that's been fun.
Share with us, Laney, your Chickasaw heritage. How has it influenced you?
We're in a program called Operation Eagle. It's through the schools, I believe, like sharing Native American culture. We're all from different tribes. We do the traditional dancing. I'm a jingle dress dancer. But they also have different classes. Like we did cooking classes and beading classes, or we'll get together for like usually award ceremonies and have like traditional meals. Like my favorite is beef and hominy.
What would you share with other young Chickasaws and other First American youth about writing and reading and entering a creative writing contest?
I would say definitely I would recommend reading a lot of the stories. I think I would enjoy reading short stories like based off of the mythologies or stories of our culture. or like reimaginings and retellings. I think that would be really cool. Yeah, definitely find people that can read over your work and give you constructive criticism and things like that, because that's really useful.
Laney plans to keep writing, enter more contests, and may even expand on her winning short story. We hope she does.
This is another great read. 88 Straight is one of the newest Chickasaw Press releases. It's fiction, but based on a real story about real people. Here's more from the book's author and Chickasaw citizen, Stanley Nelson.
This is how I became acquainted with the story, because Philip Carroll Morgan wrote the excellent Dynamic Chickasaw Women back 10 years ago. And I happened to be on staff at the time, and I was more or less his principal editor while he was putting that book together, and it exposed me to the story of 4 Chickasaw sisters from Colbert, and they played for Oklahoma Presbyterian College. They established a winning streak that held up as a record for quite a number of years and won 2 amateur athletic union championships. I told Phil at the time, I said, you need to do a fictional treatment. Finally, he just got tired of me hounding him about it and said, why don't you write it? And so this is the result.
Did you set this story, this fictional story, 88 Straight, in the Depression era?
Yes. When you write a fictional story that's based more or less on historical background, you always consider them, and you always prefer to write it in third person. But this one I thought deserved a first person treatment. So the first person, or the lead character in this story, is a girl whose name is Elizabeth Pound, as given, but she's called Woodsy Pound. And she is a person who becomes instantly dedicated to playing basketball, and not merely playing basketball, but playing guard. And in those days, some of us are old enough to remember, in those days, girls didn't play basketball the same way that boys did at all. The guards could not shoot. They could pass the ball. They could pass the ball across the line to their forwards, but they could not cross the line themselves. And there was an entire philosophy behind this. And that philosophy was that the people who had established, and especially scholastic sports, had decided that girls shouldn't play as hard as boys. You know, they didn't want girls running around and playing as hard as boys, going up and down the court, you know, all the way. Another thing was, when a girl got the ball, she could dribble it twice, and then she had to pass the ball away. Or in the case of a forward could shoot the ball. But 1, 2 dribbles, and then you had to pass or had to shoot. That was, you know, those were the rules. But nevertheless, this is kind of a triumph, really, for women's basketball players in those days. They played every bit as hard as men. They would still, you know, run about the court as fast as they could. They would still pass the ball hard. They would still play at a very athletic and sometimes elite level. Here you have these layers of pressures and conditions that these young women had to play under. Being young women, you know, being young women athletes, and being Chickasaw or Choctaw, you know, as many of the people who played for OPC and as many of the people who play for this fictional team, which is I call it Oklahoma Academy for Women. Most of them were. They had that pressure. And then they had the pressures of the Great Depression upon them, all that. This was a story that I just thought, you know, had to be told in those contexts, the things that could happen to people, the things that they had worked through.
We're so glad that Stanley Nelson told this great story. Look for this book and all of the Chickasaw Press publications at chickasawpress.com.
Quin and I are glad you spent time with us. We'll see you next time here on CNTV.